It's safe to say The Big Bang Theory started Melissa Rauch's career with, well, a bang. However, Bernadette Rostenkowski wasn't her first role. From being a budding stand-up comic to starring in her very own movie, Rauch has come a long way. Here's the stunning transformation of Melissa Rauch. Melissa Rauch knew she was in for a life of laughs when she became obsessed with comedy in kindergarten. She revealed on At Home with Linda and Drew Scott that her parents' words of encouragement are what inspired her to make comedy her career. While Rauch wasn't allowed to stay up past her bedtime, her parents would record late-night talk shows for her so she could see her favorites on screen. Soon, Rauch was given the opportunity to show off her comedy chops at her school's talent show. Speaking to Conan O'Brien in 2012, the actress said she became quite the class clown. She told Conan, "I would watch sets of like Whoopi Goldberg and do things that were wildly inappropriate that I really didn't understand." In fact, as Rauch admitted, her parents were often called into her school due to her raunchy jokes and wild behavior.
And my teacher would call my mom and be like, "Your daughter has to stop pointing at her crotch and inviting people to it."
Melissa Rauch spent her childhood honing her comedic abilities, and when it was time to start her college career, the future star enrolled in a university that would help her develop her skills even more. However, she had to pack up her bags and move from her small town in New Jersey to New York City to make it happen. During her time at Marymount Manhattan College, Rauch became classically trained in theater and performance, but her thick New Jersey accent seemed a bit out of place for what she was performing. Professors even told her she couldn't do Shakespeare with her accent. To help break her accent so that she'd be taken seriously by her peers and professors, the budding actress enrolled in a dialect class. This helped Rauch expand her range as both a classically trained performer and aspiring stand-up comedian. And soon, the future star was impressing her classmates by performing SNL-worthy impressions of famous people. Melissa Rauch might have been super focused on achieving her comedy goals while in college, but that doesn't mean she was too busy to make new friends. In fact, chasing her dreams as both an aspiring comedian and college student led Rauch to meet screenwriter Winston Beigel, a man who would later become quite important to the future star. Upon discovering they both had similar comedic aspirations, Rauch and Beigel decided to team up for even more creative brainpower and began writing together on a regular basis. As Rauch told Backstage, writing quickly became essential to who she was as an artist. She said, "I didn't care if 5 people saw it. Writing feeds the creative part of me and gets to the goods of why you're doing this." These writing sessions led to the funny duo spending quite a bit of time together, and in an adorably romantic turn of events, the man who started as Rauch's writing partner eventually became her life partner. As Melissa Rauch admitted on the podcast At Home with Linda and Drew Scott, she and Winston Beigel didn't know each other all too well when they decided to become partners in comedy. She said they were barely even friends, but something clicked with their creative energies. However, their barely there friendship didn't stay that way for long. They found themselves in a real-life love story while they were both still students, and eventually went on to wed in 2007. In an interview with New Jersey Monthly, Rauch said, "He is my best friend and the love of my life, in addition to being an incredible writing partner." Writing aside, Rauch is happy she met her soulmate so early on in her life. On At Home with Linda and Drew Scott, Rauch said, "The only thing I regret is not meeting him even sooner, as my life has just gotten better since he came into it."
When does the magic start?
It already started.
When Melissa Rauch and Winston Beigel graduated from college, they began working together on a story about a college kid trying to make it in the real world. The two were inspired by their own experiences as college kids. However, something about their story just wasn't working. Fortunately, while watching television one random day, they finally discovered what their story was missing. Rauch explained, "We saw Jenna Bush speaking at the Republican convention on TV, and she was about the same age as us. And we got the idea to sort of combine her story, a fictional story about her, with our story. This resulted in a one-woman show called The Miseducation of Jenna Bush, starring Rauch." After performing The Miseducation of Jenna Bush at the New York International Fringe Festival, Rauch was approached by an agent. Knowing this was her shot, she and Beigel decided to move to Los Angeles. Though Melissa Rauch's big move to Los Angeles came after her one-woman show in New York City proved to be a hit, the actress continued to struggle to find jobs that would stick. Once, she auditioned to be a hand model for a TGI Fridays commercial, but even her hands couldn't make the cut. Throughout all the rejections, she continued to write with her husband, as it helped her stay busy and keep her mind off rejection. It wasn't until she received a call to audition for a new television sitcom called The Big Bang Theory that her life quickly turned around. Rauch told Entertainment Tonight that she was actually at the unemployment office the day before she got called about the audition.
And now, the great Houdini's next miraculous illusion.
In 2009, Melissa Rauch was offered the role of Bernadette Rostenkowski on The Big Bang Theory. However, it was initially intended to only be a guest appearance during the show's third season. Rauch told TV Insider she planned on a week of work. However, as Bernadette's love interest, Howard Wolowitz, fell in love with her, so did the show's producers. Finally, after years of struggling to break into entertainment, Rauch was offered a recurring role on the popular sitcom, which ended up lasting nearly a decade. Not only did Rauch receive a consistent gig, but she got her break into show business on what would become the longest multi-camera comedy in television history. Her time in the spotlight was just taking off into stardom. Speaking with Entertainment Tonight, Rauch said, "I'm just eternally grateful for the course that The Big Bang Theory put my life on." As Melissa Rauch revealed in a 2016 interview with Backstage, when she originally auditioned for The Big Bang Theory, she did so using a Canadian accent. Though the accent didn't stick, the impersonation she practiced as a kid and the dialect classes she took in college did come in handy for creating a unique voice for Bernadette. Rauch revealed on The Rubin Report that her inspiration for Bernadette's voice actually came from her mother, minus the New Jersey accent. Considering Rauch also voiced Howard Wolowitz's mother on the show, it's safe to say this gal knows a thing or two about having range as a performer.
I'm fine, but oi, did Sam hop hootie and eat gravel?
That's great, Ma!
When fans find Rauch out and about, they're usually shocked to hear the actress respond in a much lower register than her famed character. Rauch told Dave Rubin that many fans don't believe who she is because Bernadette's voice is so much different. While Melissa Rauch was finding her voice on The Big Bang Theory, she was also creating unique voices for cartoon characters. In fact, Rauch's impressions and vocal range led her to landing roles in Ice Age Collision Course, Sophia the First, and Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Speaking with the Movie Times about her animation work, Rauch said, "You approach doing voiceover work the same way you would any other acting role, except for the fact that you don't have to wear makeup, and you do it without Spanx." When she landed the lead role in Batman and Harley Quinn, Rauch used her Jersey roots for inspiration. Rauch told Empire, "I knew Harley had a higher-pitched tone and a bit of a New York accent. I come from a New Jersey family where everyone could be former gun malls. So I wanted to give a nod to my background without being as shrill. Apparently, you can take a girl out of Jersey, but you can't take the Jersey accent out of the girl."
So here's how it's gonna work, dynamic duo. Nobody knows Ivy like I know Ivy. Now I can help you find her, but you're gonna let me talk some sense into her before you come in swinging.
Melissa Rauch loved starring on The Big Bang Theory, but during her off-seasons, she found herself wanting to take on movie roles. The actress decided to take things into her own hands and write her own film with her husband. Rauch and her husband soon came up with an idea for a film about a one-time Olympic bronze medalist who, years later, refuses to stop living in her past glory days. Appropriately titled The Bronze, the film proved to be a hard sell, as many producers argued they needed a big box office name for the flick to be a success. However, Rauch knew the role inside and out, so she and Beigel financed it themselves until they were finally able to sell it to Sony Pictures Classics. Speaking with Fountain Interviews in 2012, Rauch gushed about one of her biggest acting idols, Meryl Streep. Like many performers, Rauch had long dreamed of working with the iconic Streep, and she was finally given the chance to live out her dream 7 years later. Just as Rauch was wrapping up her time on The Big Bang Theory, which came to an end in 2019, she landed the opportunity to star in The Laundromat. Distributed by Netflix and released in 2019, The Laundromat tells the true story of a journalist, played by Streep, who investigated the 2016 Panama Papers scandal. Rauch went full fangirl about the experience on Instagram. She said, "Working with and being in the presence of director Steven Soderbergh and Meryl Streep was nothing short of a dream come true." Melissa Rauch is a mother now, but her journey to parenthood was not an easy one. When she first became pregnant with her daughter Sadie in 2017, it was both an exciting and emotional time. She penned a personal essay for Glamour, describing the trauma she had gone through in the past due to a miscarriage. She wrote, "During the time when I was grieving over my pregnancy loss or struggling with fertility issues, every joyful, expectant baby announcement felt like a tiny stab in the heart." The story of her second baby didn't seem to be any easier. When Rauch gave birth to her son Brooks in 2020, she found herself in the hospital room without her husband due to the coronavirus pandemic. However, she wasn't afraid. In a second essay for Glamour, she wrote, "I won't be alone. I have a partner, the same one that's been listening to my heartbeat inside me for 9 months." Melissa Rauch might have been turned away when she auditioned to be a hand model for a TGI Fridays commercial, but now her hands are forever immortalized on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Watch what happens when you move.
Oh boy, you weren't kidding. Oh, those are 10,000 lumens if they're a lumen.
The day after filming the series finale of The Big Bang Theory in April 2019, Rauch and her castmates had the honor of stamping their handprints into cement in front of TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood. On Twitter, Rauch called it the honor of a lifetime. There's no arguing that The Big Bang Theory solidified a place for Rauch in the entertainment industry, and the breakout star has said she's looking forward to what the rest of her career has in store. Speaking with Parade in 2019, she said, "My heart has been so happy working on this show, and I want to continue to do something that makes my heart happy." Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more list videos about your favorite stars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.